Dillon Gabriel is still being treated like the Browns' best bet, while Shedeur Sanders, despite being the one with the talent, drive, and spotlight, is being kept locked behind glass. The team's decision to sideline Sanders, the rookie quarterback with elite upside and a last name that already echoes in Canton thanks to Deion Sanders, has stopped making football sense. And now, it's starting to look like a PR strategy disguised as roster management.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Kevin Stefanski is in the center of it. His public tone when discussing Sanders has been clipped and mechanical, development, learning. Not ready yet. But when he talks about Gabriel, it's glowing, enthusiastic, the kind of language you use when your job depends on it. And maybe it does. Because if Gabriel flames out, the narrative doesn't just collapse, it takes Stefanski down with it. That's what makes the whole setup feel less like football and more like crisis control. Joe Flacco's presence in this equation only makes the politics more obvious. He's not the future. He's not the present. He's a 39-year-old insurance policy who just happens to be taking a roster spot from the one player the fans are screaming for. Meanwhile, Myles Garrett is throwing public praise at Sanders. Cam Newton is openly questioning why the rookie isn't playing. And Stephen A. Smith has already connected the dots between Sanders' last name and the Browns' hesitation. Legacy fear is real, and no one wants to admit they're letting optics drive decisions. But Sanders isn't letting any of it slide. He's not playing the silent rookie role. He's vocal, confident. He's made it clear that he's better than Flacco, and he's putting in the extra work to prove it. Not quietly, behind the scenes, visibly. Sanders is showing out in practice with veterans, running extra drills, and staying locked in even when he knows he's not getting activated. That's not normal behavior for someone content with waiting. And it's working. The grassroots movement around him has become impossible to ignore. Fans are creating campaigns. There are stadium signs, custom shirts, viral posts. This is full-blown momentum. And every week Sanders doesn't suit up, the message grows louder. The Browns aren't protecting their future quarterback. They're protecting their messaging. The real risk isn't starting Sanders too early. It's continuing to stall until the team's credibility caves in. They've backed themselves into a corner where every game without him feels like a statement, and not a good one. This isn't about patience or development. It's about control. And once you're fighting your own fan base for control of a narrative, the damage is already happening. Sanders isn't just ready. He's waiting with the receipts. And every delay makes the Browns look less like a team managing talent and more like an organization afraid of what happens when that talent proves them wrong. The Cleveland Browns are on the verge of letting their most promising quarterback become the most mishandled story in the NFL. At the center of it all is Shedeur Sanders, a fifth-round pick with elite talent, top-tier confidence, relentless work ethic, and more media attention than most of the league starters. But instead of being groomed for leadership, he's being boxed in by a depth chart that feels more political than performance-based. And people are starting to talk. Actually, they're not just talking, they're protesting. From viral fan videos to in-stadium chants, from analyst debates to locker room whispers, the question is echoing louder each week. Why is Shedeur Sanders still sitting? The coaching staff wants you to believe it's about development. Head coach Kevin Stefanski has been careful, too careful, in his language. Every time he's asked about Sanders, the answer is vague, cautious, measured. But when he talks about Dillon Gabriel, the tone changes completely. There's excitement, belief, praise. He's all in. And that difference in energy has become the heartbeat of the controversy. Because it's not that Dillon Gabriel is failing. It's that Shedeur Sanders is succeeding and being ignored anyway. He's out there putting in extra reps with veterans, prepping like a starter, acting like someone who knows his moment could come any week. And still, he's not getting reps, not getting real backup duties, not getting mentioned unless the press forces Stefanski to bring him up. And now, the silence is speaking louder than the words. This isn't about readiness anymore. It's about narrative. It's about control. It's about maintaining a hierarchy that protects the coaching staff's investment in Gabriel, while sidelining the quarterback fans and analysts are actually asking for. And make no mistake, people are asking. Cam Newton has said it. Stephen A. Smith has said it. The general consensus among analysts right now is that Sanders' absence from the field isn't based on football logic. It's based on perception management, politics, image control, and worse, legacy bias. There's a belief, spoken and unspoken, that Sanders is being judged through the lens of who his father is, not who he is. Deion Sanders casts a big shadow, but Shedeur isn't living in it. He's building beyond it. Still, the presence of that legacy makes him a bigger story than the team is ready to handle. And the Browns are acting like they'd rather avoid a media storm than unleash a quarterback who might force them to reevaluate everything. Because here's what's really at stake. If they start Sanders and he thrives, everything changes. Suddenly, Gabriel's role comes under fire. Stefanski's quarterback decisions face scrutiny. And the organization has to admit that they may have had the answers sitting on the bench the entire time. That's not just inconvenient, that's career-altering for the people in charge. So they stall. They keep the structure intact. They slow-walk the narrative and hope it doesn't blow up. But it's already blowing up. Fans aren't passive anymore. They're building a movement. The support for Sanders isn't just casual, it's strategic. There are online campaigns. Clips breaking down his practice mechanics, shirt sales, in-stadium chants. The people have chosen him. And every week the Browns resist, the backlash grows. Because this is about more than one player. It's about trust. It's about faith in an organization that has spent years selling a vision that never quite materializes. Now they have a player who feels different, real, focused, unshaken. And they're actively choosing not to use him. That's not a quarterback issue. That's a franchise issue. Even inside the locker room, the respect for Sanders is growing. Myles Garrett isn't going to publicly vouch for someone who hasn't earned it. That kind of comment doesn't happen unless players see it, day in and day out. And they do see it. They see who stays late, who leads in practice, who acts like they belong, even when the team acts like they don't. The coaching staff may think they're shielding Sanders, protecting him, letting him develop. But it doesn't look like that to the rest of the world. To fans, to media, even to some players, it looks like suppression, politics, fear. And now Sanders is no longer staying quiet. His recent comments made waves for a reason. When he said he believes he can outperform veterans like Flacco, that wasn't bravado. It was a direct challenge to the organization's story. He's saying what a lot of people are thinking. He's ready. And the team is ignoring that readiness because it doesn't fit the script. That kind of confidence? That doesn't fade. It grows. And if the team keeps trying to bury it, they won't just lose games. They'll lose the narrative entirely. Because timing in the NFL is everything. You don't always get multiple windows. When the moment is there, you take it. And right now, the Browns have a window. They have a quarterback who's not just physically prepared, but mentally locked in. He's done the work. He's earned the respect. The only thing left is the chance. And the longer they delay it, the bigger the risk. They're already dealing with fan unrest. If Gabriel struggles and Sanders is still riding the bench, that frustration will explode. If the season starts slipping away and they still won't give Sanders a shot, the noise becomes deafening. And if they finally start him and he performs well, it exposes every decision that kept him hidden as a mistake. So what's the upside of waiting? Because from the outside, it doesn't look like patience. It looks like cowardice. It looks like a coaching staff so afraid of being wrong that they're refusing to be right. So committed to a narrative that they'd rather tank trust with the fan base than pivot to the player everyone can see is waiting to break out. Sanders isn't a risk. He's a solution. He's shown it. He's said it. The locker room sees it. The fans believe it. But the organization? Still holding the line. And if that line breaks, which it will, they'll be the ones everyone blames for missing the moment. The clock is ticking. The pressure's real. The opportunity is now. And the Browns have to decide, Do they stick with the plan and pray it holds, or do they listen to the fans, the media, the locker room, and the player himself, and finally make the move that should have happened weeks ago? Let us know where you stand. Should Shedeur Sanders be playing already? Are the Browns protecting a plan, or just too scared to admit they're getting it wrong? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more straight-up breakdowns of the most chaotic stories in sports, hit that subscribe button. Because this one's not cooling off anytime soon. At this point, the Cleveland Browns aren't just slow-playing a quarterback. They're slow-burning a revolution. And it's one they may not be able to control for much longer. Because the Shedeur Sanders situation has crossed over. It's no longer a rookie learning behind-the-scenes story. It's no longer about bringing him along at the right pace. This is now a test of accountability, a test of transparency, a test of whether an NFL organization can still be trusted to put performance over politics. And right now, the Browns are failing that test. Sanders didn't show up in Cleveland as a typical fifth-round pick. He arrived with more buzz than most top draft picks. Yes, he's the son of Deion Sanders. But he didn't walk in asking for legacy treatment. He walked in and worked. He's been doing the things starters do, working with veterans, staying sharp even while being sidelined, leading without permission. He's making plays in practice, winning respect in the locker room, and giving every indication that he wants the pressure that comes with being QB1. And yet, the depth chart doesn't budge. Still sitting behind Dillon Gabriel, a quarterback the coaching staff seems determined to protect at all costs, and Joe Flacco, who, let's be real, hasn't been a long-term answer for anyone in almost a decade. Week after week, the Browns keep running it back with the same explanation. Development takes time. Okay, sure. But development isn't just sitting on the bench while less dynamic options underwhelm. Development, at some point, requires opportunity. And if we're being honest, that's what's being withheld here. Not just snaps, but a chance. The irony? It's not even subtle anymore. Shedeur Sanders has become the most popular quarterback in Cleveland without playing it down. His fan base is growing by the day. There are highlight reels from practice going viral, breakdowns of his mechanics floating around X, and fan-made graphics campaigning for him to start. People are paying attention. Not because the team told them to, but because the player forced the attention with his energy, his confidence, and yes, his readiness. And the team's silence? That's only making it worse. Head coach Kevin Stefanski has been measured and distant whenever Sanders' name comes up. No bold proclamations. No clear commitment. Just rehearsed language about the process and developing behind the scenes. Meanwhile, Dillon Gabriel gets the full head coach backing, press conference praise, system alignment, starter's leash. And that contrast? It's glaring. It makes it look like the coaching staff has already made up its mind and isn't interested in revisiting that decision, no matter how many reps Sanders wins in practice or how much support he builds off the field. That's where this gets dangerous. Because the locker room isn't blind. They see who's grinding. They know who's earning it. And when a guy like Myles Garrett goes on record praising Sanders' attitude and presence, that means something. That's a signal. Veterans don't throw around praise like that unless the player's really proving himself. But if the coaching staff keeps ignoring that, keeps pretending it's just not time, then what they're really doing is sending a message that merit isn't the deciding factor, that the hierarchy is locked, that internal politics win out. And that's a message that loses teams. Players start to disconnect. Fans start to check out. And the organization starts to fracture beneath the weight of its own denial. This isn't speculation. It's already happening. The media has fully picked up the story. When you got voices like Cam Newton and Stephen A. Smith publicly calling out the Browns and questioning whether Sanders is being benched because of who his father is, not because of his talent, that's not just commentary. That's pressure. National-level pressure. And instead of addressing it directly, the Browns keep trying to deflect. They lean on structure. Stick to the script. Treat the controversy like background noise. But this isn't background noise anymore. It's the story. And it's not going away. Especially after Sanders went public with his frustration. He didn't dodge. He didn't sugarcoat. He came out and said he could outperform guys ahead of him on the depth chart. He let it be known. He's not just waiting for his time. He's asking for it. He's demanding it. And if the organization won't acknowledge that, then the fans will. The media will. His teammates will. Because at this point, pretending Sanders isn't ready doesn't just seem like a mistake. It looks like willful ignorance. And the longer it goes on, the more it threatens the entire structure. Because let's be honest, the Browns are operating on borrowed credibility. This is a team with a history of quarterback chaos, leadership turnover, and high expectations that never quite pan out. So when the fans finally latch on to something or someone that feels real, that feels authentic, that feels different, you can't afford to mishandle that. But that's exactly what they're doing. They're sitting on momentum like it's a liability, treating a player with starter-level preparation as if he's not even in the conversation, and clinging to a plan that, week by week, is proving it doesn't fit the moment. Because this isn't just a crossroads for Shedeur Sanders. It's a crossroads for the franchise. If they pivot now, give him reps, start to integrate him, open the door, they might save more than a season. They might reset the culture, re-engage the fans, signal to the locker room that performance matters more than politics. But if they wait, if they stall until the season collapses or Gabriel flames out, then the story shifts again, and not in their favor. Then it becomes about what they ignored, what they resisted, what they let slip away. Because if Sanders does eventually get on the field and thrives, it won't just be a feel-good moment. It'll be a referendum. A spotlight on every coach, every executive, every decision-maker who said not yet when the fan base was screaming now. It will define careers, rewrite narratives, and permanently stain whatever trust this team has left with its base. And if he doesn't get that chance, if the Browns keep sitting on him, keep slow-playing his trajectory until the pressure becomes unbearable, then they're not just risking Shedeur Sanders. They're risking everything he represents. Hope, change, a different future. Because for once, the fan base sees a player with both the talent and the mindset to lead. And watching that player get sidelined for political convenience, that's the kind of thing that leaves scars. That lingers. That sticks. So now it's all on the Browns. They can continue trying to protect their plan, hoping the noise dies down. Or they can embrace what's obvious to everyone else, that the future of their franchise might already be on the roster. And it's time to let him lead. Because the clock is ticking. The fans are tired. And the only thing standing between this team and a full-blown collapse is their willingness to listen. To the fans. To the locker room. To reality. There's a reason this Shedeur Sanders story isn't just living on Twitter threads and post-game talk shows. It's living rent-free in the Browns' front office, coaching meetings, and locker room. Because this isn't just a quarterback controversy anymore. It's a full-blown organizational crisis of identity. And the walls are closing in. The Browns want to be seen as a forward-thinking franchise. One that learns from its long, painful history of QB misfires. One that prioritizes winning over ego. One that claims to do what's best for the team, not what's easiest for the decision-makers. But none of that aligns with how they're handling Shedeur Sanders. Let's be honest here. What fifth-round rookie generates this much buzz before even taking a snap? This isn't just about the Deion Sanders name. It's about what Shedeur has shown since arriving in Cleveland. The work, the mindset, the leadership, the tape from practices that's leaked its way into analyst circles. The teammates speaking out, unsolicited. The way he carries himself like someone who already knows he belongs in this league. And still, he's stuck behind not one, but two quarterbacks who aren't even part of the Browns' long-term future. That's the part that makes people lose it. Dillon Gabriel is the project the front office wants to validate. Joe Flacco is the veteran safety net. But neither of them has the ceiling Sanders has. And that ceiling is being actively ignored. Not because Sanders isn't performing. Not because he's lost in the playbook or can't read a defense. But because giving him a real opportunity would mean admitting the plan changed. And that's where ego comes in. The Browns can't admit that maybe the guy they drafted to sit And develop is actually ready now. Because that means rethinking the entire quarterback strategy. It means putting trust in a player they didn't expect to need this soon. And it means possibly benching the QB the coach has attached himself to, which would be a very public admission of error. That's the power struggle under the surface. And the fan base sees it. They see the hesitation. They hear the dodgy quotes. They know when a player's being talked around instead of about. Stefanski can't hide behind coach speak anymore. We're evaluating everyone. We like where he's at in his development. He's not ready yet. All that does now is fan the flames. Because if he's not ready, why are players like Myles Garrett backing him publicly? Why is he spending hours working through reps with veterans, acting like a guy who expects to start, not one just hoping to stay active? The answer, because he is ready. And the longer they hold him back, the more this becomes about control, not competition. This is the ugly truth no team wants to admit. Sometimes, it's not about the best player. It's about who's been anointed, who's safe, who makes the front office look smart. And when fans figure that out, when they realize performance isn't the priority, but optics are, that's when they turn. And the Browns are on that edge right now. Fans aren't just angry. They're insulted. They're watching a franchise with a rare shot at real momentum and seeing it actively smothered under layers of internal politics. They're watching a quarterback who represents hope, energy, and a new future be treated like a media distraction instead of a legitimate asset. And they're not staying quiet. Every game, every press conference, every social post is being dissected for signs that Sanders might move up the depth chart. Every throw from Gabriel is scrutinized. Every clip of Sanders working out goes viral. This isn't just noise anymore, it's a movement. And the organization is either going to have to face it or get swallowed by it. Because if they keep stalling, if they wait until things go completely off the rails to give Sanders a shot, then the story becomes about everything they could have done earlier. It becomes about the games they lost, the trust they broke, the fans they pushed away. And even if Sanders eventually starts and lights it up, that resentment doesn't just disappear. It lingers. This could have been a proactive pivot. Now it's starting to feel like it'll be a desperate scramble. That's not how winning franchises operate. That's how fragile ones do. So here we are. Shedeur Sanders on the sideline. The Browns caught between their need to stay in control and their fear of what happens when they lose it. But what they don't seem to realize is they already have. Control is gone. The narrative belongs to the fans now. And Sanders is the centerpiece. So, if the Browns still want to salvage this season, this locker room, this moment, there's only one move left to make. Start the kid. And if they won't, if they keep dragging their feet, then maybe it's not Shedeur Sanders who needs to be replaced. Let us know what you think in the comments. Has the Browns quarterback drama gone too far? Or is the pressure exactly what they need to wake up? And if you want more deep dives into sports chaos that makes you question everything, hit subscribe. Because this saga, it's just getting started.